Have you ever felt it? That strange, unspoken disconnection. You walk into a room full of people and something inside you withdraws. It's not hate, not fear, not even discomfort, just a quiet knowing. You don't belong here. Conversations swirl around you, voices overlap, but they feel empty. The forced laughter, the meaningless small talk, the masks that people wear, something about it all feels unnatural, like watching shadows dance on a cave wall, knowing the real world exists somewhere else. And in that moment, you wonder, why? Why do you feel drained instead of energized around others? Why do their words sound hollow? Why does solitude feel like a sanctuary, while socializing feels like an obligation? You've asked yourself these questions before. You've tried to explain it away, told yourself you just need to be more social, to fit in, to care. But deep down you know the truth. You don't like being around people, and perhaps you never truly have. But what if I told you, this feeling is not a flaw? What if the very thing that sets you apart, the thing that makes you crave solitude, was the same trait that shaped the greatest minds in history? The ancient Stoics, the philosophers, the warriors, the thinkers who walked this earth before us, many of them felt exactly as you do now. And instead of resisting it, they embraced it, because solitude is not loneliness, and disliking people is not weakness. It is a sign that your mind is tuned to a deeper frequency, one that does not align with the noise of the world. And that's why you're here now, because you're ready to understand. Today, we uncover 6 profound reasons why you don't like to be around people. Not shallow reasons, not cliches, but deep, undeniable truths that will make you see yourself in a new light. Stay with me till the end, wisdom seekers, because by the time we're finished, you will no longer question your nature. You will embrace it. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Every like, subscribe helps us continue our mission of sharing knowledge. And leave a comment below and share your opinion on these reasons, or tell me which one resonates with you the most. Ready to unlock more wisdom? Let's get started. Reason 1, the burden of shallowness. There is something heavy in the air when people speak, not because of depth, but because of its absence. You've felt it before, haven't you? The weight of words that mean nothing, the unbearable lightness of small talk. You sit among them, nodding, smiling, playing the role expected of you. But inside, there is a quiet scream, an impatience that rises with every empty sentence, discussions about the weather, recycled opinions about the latest trending controversy, gossip that flows endlessly, a river of noise without substance. And you wonder, is this all there is? There is a reason why great thinkers, men who shaped the world through ideas, often distanced themselves from crowds. They knew something most people don't. Depth is rare, and the shallow exhaust the deep. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, warned against the distractions of idle chatter. He believed that too much exposure to the trivial corrupts the mind. Associate with those who will make a better man of you, he wrote. But what happens when most of society does the opposite? What happens when conversation feels less like connection and more like erosion? You have tried. You have sat among them, listening, hoping for something real, but it does not come. The words are abundant, yet they say nothing. The laughter is loud, yet it feels empty. The energy is high, yet it drains you instead of lifting you. Because shallow waters cannot quench a deep thirst. This is why solitude calls to you. Not because you despise people, but because you crave something they rarely provide: depth. A real conversation, one that sparks the mind, challenges the soul. But such conversations are scarce, and searching for them in the wrong places is like looking for poetry in an instruction manual. And so you withdraw. Not out of hatred, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. Because a mind that seeks meaning cannot survive on the meaningless. They will tell you that you are antisocial, that you need to learn how to enjoy normal conversation. But what they do not understand is that it is not you who needs to change. It is the conversation itself that needs to be worth having. And until it is, you will remain where you are. Distant, observing, waiting. Not lost, not broken, simply unwilling to drown in shallow waters. Reason 2, the exhaustion of pretense. There is a quiet war happening in every room, every gathering, every conversation. A war of masks. You have seen it, you have felt it, the forced smiles, the The carefully measured words, the desperate unspoken need to be liked, to be accepted, to fit into a mold so fragile it shatters at the first sign of honesty. And you have no patience for it. Because every time you step into a social setting, you feel the weight of performance. The way people carefully sculpt their words, choosing them not for truth, but for approval. The way they laugh a little louder than they need to, nod a little more than they mean to, hold their expressions just long enough to seem engaged, but not long enough to reveal themselves. It is exhausting. You do not hate people. You hate the act people put on when they are around others. And worse, the unspoken rule that you, too, must participate in it. And so, you become a stranger among them. Not because you lack social skills, but because you lack the willingness to pretend. The ancient philosophers saw this struggle long before our time. Epictetus, the Stoic slave-turned-teacher, spoke of the dangers of false appearances. He warned that a man who seeks approval will never be free, because his happiness will always depend on the fragile opinions of others. But modern society demands it, doesn't it? You must be polite, but not too reserved. Confident, but not intimidating. Funny, but not controversial. Authentic, but only in ways that are socially acceptable. And what happens when you refuse? They call you distant, cold, socially awkward. But the truth is simpler than that. You are simply tired. Tired of forcing yourself into a role you did not ask for. Tired of watching people become hollow versions of themselves just to be liked. Tired of conversations where no one dares to speak their mind, where truth is sacrificed for comfort, where connection is traded for performance. You crave something real. A space where you do not have to measure every word, where silence is not awkward but understood, where your presence is valued, not because of what you say, but because of who you are. And so you pull away. Not because you dislike people, but because you cannot tolerate the effort it takes to be around them. You are not cold. You are not broken. You are simply unwilling to live a life of pretense. And that, wisdom seeker, is the rarest courage of all. Reason 3. The weight of expectations. There is an invisible burden that follows you into every social interaction. You do not always see it, but you feel it pressing against your chest, tightening around your mind. It is the weight of expectations, the silent demand that you be something for others. To some, you must be agreeable. To others, entertaining. To some, you must listen without speaking. To others, you must speak without pause. You must be charming, yet humble, confident, yet non-threatening, intelligent, yet never intimidating, always adjusting, always calculating, always aware that the moment you misstep, say the wrong thing, fail to react the way they expect, the air shifts, the warmth fades. And you cannot stand it, because every interaction feels like a test, a performance where the rules are never spoken, only enforced through subtle reactions. The flicker of disapproval in someone's eyes, the sudden stiffness in their voice, the small but unmistakable withdrawal of warmth when you fail to meet their silent demands. And so, you begin to resent it. The way people expect you to shape yourself for their comfort. The way their approval is conditional, hinging not on your true nature, but on your ability to mold yourself into something palatable. You wonder, why should I have to shrink myself to fit inside their expectations? Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "The approval of others is a poor substitute for one's own." He understood what most never will, that a man who lives for the expectations of others will never truly live at all. Yet society thrives on expectation. It does not want you. It wants a version of you that is easy to digest. It does not care for your thoughts, only for the ones that do not challenge its norms. It does not want your silence, only your agreeable participation. But you are not here to perform, and so you withdraw. Not because you are incapable of socializing, but because you refuse to be weighed down by the exhausting game of meeting unspoken expectations. They will say you are difficult, that you are too rigid, too distant, too unwilling to compromise. But what they truly mean is, you will not give us what we demand. And they are right, because a man who bends too much will eventually break. And you have chosen wisely not to break for the comfort of others. So let them talk, let them misunderstand. You are not here to be what they want. You are here to be free. Reason 4, the drain of meaningless connections. There is a silence more comforting than any conversation, and a solitude richer than any crowd. You have felt it. The moment when you step away from people and realize how much lighter you feel. It is not loneliness, it is not sadness, it is relief. Because being around people does not always mean connection. You have sat in rooms full of voices and felt utterly alone. You have shared space with others, yet found no common ground. You have spoken but not been heard, listened but not been understood. And over time you began to see the truth. Most social interactions are not about connection. They are about proximity, about filling the silence, about being together yet never truly with each other. And you do not want to be surrounded by people just for the sake of it. You crave something deeper. But deep connections are rare. Most people are content with the surface. They skim across relationships like stones on water, never daring to sink, never daring to explore the depths of another's soul. They talk, but do not communicate. They spend time together, but do not truly see one another. And so, being around them exhausts you, because every meaningless interaction steals from you, steals your time, your energy, your focus. It gives nothing in return. A conversation that serves no purpose, a gathering that leaves you feeling emptier than when you arrived, an exchange of words that carry no weight. You walk away from it drained, wondering why you even bothered. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca warned that being around the wrong people is more dangerous than being alone, because the wrong crowd does not add to your life, it takes from it. Associate with those who improve you, he said. But what happens when most people do not improve you, but instead leave you feeling depleted? You have learned this the hard way. You have given your time to people who never valued it. You have listened to those who never cared to understand you. You have surrounded yourself with others, only to feel more alone than you would have in solitude. And so you stopped. You stopped forcing yourself into spaces that drained you. You stopped chasing connections that did not nourish you. You stopped believing that being social is the same as being fulfilled. They say you are distant, that you keep to yourself too much, that you should make more of an effort. But what they do not understand is that you are not avoiding connection. You are avoiding emptiness disguised as connection. You would rather have one conversation that sparks your mind than 1,000 that dull it. You would rather spend an hour in deep thought than a lifetime in shallow company. You would rather be alone in truth than surrounded by others in pretense. And so you choose solitude. Not because you hate people, but because you have learned that meaningless connection is more exhausting than no connection at all. And that is a wisdom few will ever understand. Reason 5. The chaos of human nature. There is a storm that follows people wherever they go. It is not always visible, but it is always there, swirling beneath the surface. Raw emotions, unspoken conflicts, restless desires. It is the chaos of human nature, and you have felt its weight every time you step into a crowded room. People are unpredictable. Their moods shift like the wind, their tempers flare without warning, their insecurities turn into silent wars waged through words and actions. One moment they are kind, the next they are distant. One day they admire you, the next they resent you. And you have no patience for this disorder, because you see it too clearly. You notice the tension beneath polite smiles, the hidden motives behind casual words. You watch as people betray their own principles, as they say one thing but do another, as they speak of loyalty while practicing deceit. You see how easily friendships turn to rivalry, how quickly admiration becomes envy, how effortlessly love transforms into resentment. It is exhausting to be around. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, reminded himself daily, people will be selfish, people will be arrogant, people will be dishonest. And yet he did not allow himself to be surprised by it. He understood that this was simply human nature, chaotic, irrational, full of contradiction. But understanding it does not make it easier to endure, because you do not thrive in disorder. You do not enjoy the unpredictability of human relationships, the way they demand constant navigation, constant adjustment, constant awareness of the unspoken rules that shift with each passing moment. And so you distance yourself, not because you believe yourself superior, not because you think yourself above others, but because you know that peace is found in stillness, not in the unpredictable storm of human emotions. They will call you detached, cold, indifferent. But the truth is, you are simply protecting yourself from the turbulence of those who have not mastered themselves. You are choosing stability over chaos, self-possession over emotional exhaustion. You are not withdrawing from people out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because while they fight their unseen battles, while they let their emotions rule them, while they turn relationships into battlegrounds of pride and insecurity, you remain untouched. Not because you do not feel, but because you refuse to be consumed. Reason 6. The call of higher purpose. There is a path that few walk. It is quiet, demanding, and often lonely. It does not lead to applause, nor does it offer the warmth of constant companionship. But for those who follow it, there is no other way. You have felt it. The pull of something greater. The sense that your time, your energy, your very existence must be spent on something more than mere social pleasures. While others seek entertainment, you seek understanding. While they chase validation, you chase wisdom. While they lose themselves in distractions, you search for truth. And this is why you do not like to be around people. Not because you despise them, not because you think yourself above them, but because their world does not align with yours. The idle talk, the endless gossip, the pursuit of temporary pleasure, it is not for you. You feel the weight of wasted time like a chain around your soul. You know that every moment spent on the trivial is a moment lost from the pursuit of something greater. The great Stoics understood this well. Epictetus taught that a man must choose his company wisely, for the wrong crowd will lead him away from his purpose. Seneca warned that time is the most valuable possession a man has, and that most people squander it as if it were infinite. And so, you have made your choice. You would rather spend a night in deep contemplation than in shallow conversation. You would rather read the words of ancient minds than hear the recycled thoughts of the modern world. You would rather walk alone on the path of purpose than stand among crowds who have no direction. They do not understand this. They call you distant, unfriendly, even arrogant. They cannot comprehend why you do not crave the things they do. The distractions, the noise, the fleeting connections that amount to nothing. But you do not need them to understand, because you know something they do not. The greatest minds in history walked alone, not out of hatred for others, but out of love for their craft, their purpose, their calling. Leonardo da Vinci spent days locked in his workshop, lost in his work. Nietzsche wandered the mountains alone, writing the thoughts that would shape generations. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor of Rome, found his greatest moments of clarity, not in the Senate, not in the company of others, but in the solitude of his own mind. And now here you are, walking the same path, feeling the same pull, living the same truth. You do not dislike people. You simply have something more important to do. And that, wisdom seeker, is not a weakness. It is your greatest strength.